It's like, it does make you feel secure though, because it's like, I guess if you were trying to smuggle in something and do something crazy, you really couldn't because they're checking. But we were definitely shocked by that. Like, my first thought was, what are they looking for?
Shalom family, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the family.
In today's video, we'll be discussing 10 things that shocked us about Nairobi, Kenya.
Also on this channel, we'll be traveling throughout the continent to show you the real Africa.
So if you like this type of content, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Let's get into it. So this is just a disclaimer. We're gonna be comparing it to a lot of other places that we have been on the continent of Africa, because that's kind of where our lens is coming from. And we're also mainly going to be talking about Nairobi because that is all we have seen so far in Kenya, but that will not remain the same. But for now, we've only been to Nairobi.
The first thing we're going to get into is matatu culture. Now, when we first got to Nairobi, I was surprised to see these buses with loud music and like rappers on the back, like American rappers at that, like Biggie, Tupac, Rick Ross. Like, it was hilarious to see, but it's really a culture shock because I've never seen anything like this, not only in America, but on the continent of Africa. I mean, they be blasting music, they be flying down the streets. The artwork on the buses is just phenomenal. And I would have to say that's something that's really unique to Kenya, and it's a beautiful thing to see for sure.
The next thing we're going to talk about is cultural diversity. Since being here, we have seen so many different ethnic groups, and it's just everywhere. So we've seen a lot of Indian people, we've seen Somali people, we've seen like Arabs, and just there's so many people here, and there's Americans too, obviously. But there are so many different people here, and it's reflected in a lot of things like the food.
And speaking of food, that's going to bring us to our next topic, which is international foods. Now, traveling throughout the continent, it's kind of hit or miss. I would say more so in South Africa, we had really good international food, but here is like next level, I would have to say. When it comes to like Somali food and Italian food, it tastes like how it's supposed to taste, which was very shocking. I don't think we've had anything that was just didn't taste good, honestly, when it came to international foods. Now, we might got lucky, but like things like the Indian, which is my favorite food, is so good here, guys. Like, it is delicious. And I have to say, if there weren't any local foods, anything like that, I could just be good with international food.
Because that's one of the things that we kind of look at anyway, because just in general, like if you want to go to a soul food restaurant in America, there better be a bunch of black people in there. If there's no black people, it's probably not right. You know, if you go to an Indian restaurant, there's not a bunch of Indians in there, it's probably not right. So the fact that all of these people are here, when you go to the restaurant, the food is what it's supposed to be. It's how it should be. It's very good. The next thing we're going to talk about is Wi-Fi and electricity. So coming from Tanzania, there would be power outages that were kind of random, and the Wi-Fi could be kind of spotty. But we did notice we have really good Wi-Fi connection since we've been here. And I want to say the electricity went out once the first time we were here, and it literally cut off for like 2 seconds and cut back on. So it doesn't seem to be like a huge thing. Even when we discussed that about the power outages in South Africa, so many Kenyans were in our comments saying that that's not a thing here. So
when it comes to like, obviously we work online, it's huge for us that we have great Wi-Fi and electricity, because without those things, then we really can't work. So if you're a person that does work online, this would be a great place for you.
The next thing we're going to talk about is weather. So once again, everything kind of went through the lens of where we came from first. So since we were in Tanzania and it was hot.
Very hot. It never gets that cold.
We expected it to be hot. So when we got here, we felt like it was pretty cold, which was surprising to us just because they're so close that we figured the weather would be more similar.
But it is more elevated here.
And then now it's funny because after coming from South Africa, and it was cold. Like in our comments, people have been telling us we just missed the snow. It's snowing now.
And it's like -5 degrees Celsius.
So now we feel like it's warm here. When we got here, like our Airbnb host met us, and she was like decked out in like a coat and cold weather gear. She's like, it's cold. We were like borderline sweating.
It was like, it's cold. We hot.
Our bodies got used to the cold, and now we came back here like, ooh, it's warm. But we initially were like, ooh, it's cold here.
Next up, we're going to talk about how many people speak English here? Now, coming from Tanzania, where most people aren't fluent in English, it's a huge language barrier for us.
It's hit or miss.
It's very hit or miss. Here, there's really no language barrier. We haven't even had to speak Swahili that much because everybody speaks English to us.
Right.
Like literally everywhere we go, whether it's restaurants, whether it's in the city, everybody is speaking English. Now, I don't know if they're doing it just because we're American and they know we speak English, but it's very surprising to see that.
Well, I have thought about that too, because I've noticed that people are speaking to each other in English. So I think they just speak more English in general. Because I did kind of wonder that at first too. Like, do we look American in there? Because that kind of happened in Tanzania. The way we're dressed and I guess the way we carry ourselves, they assume we're American. They start speaking English automatically.
But if you're a person coming from an English speaking country, coming here, you don't really have to worry about language. Now, we don't know about other cities, maybe the more rural areas, they might not speak it as well. But here in Nairobi, I mean, everybody that we've come across spoke English.
But I'm still working on my Swahili, so I'm trying. Now we're gonna talk about the clothing. So I had a bunch of like dresses and stuff that I got like made when we were in Tanzania, and they were more like traditional clothes. My husband wanted me to wear more dresses anyway, and less jeans and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, that's cool, and I can wear those things when we're traveling around Africa. And we get here and everybody's wearing jeans. And I feel like one of the things about, wearing more traditional clothing is that you fit in more. You don't stand out like a sore thumb. But when we got here, everybody's wearing jeans. If you're wearing some traditional clothes, you're the only one. So security. This was one thing that was really interesting. So I think the first time we went to, I don't think it might have been when we went to Two Rivers. I'm not sure. But we noticed that like when you're in the Uber and you get to the little, whatever the thing is that has to come up so that you can drive into the parking lot or whatever, the security is always right there, and they literally make them open the glove compartment and they check. They make them open the trunk and they check. And I'm like, that's good because it makes you feel secure. Like they check, like, I don't know what they checking for. Like they checking for something. But it's like, it does make you feel secure though. Because it's like, I guess if you were trying to smuggle in something and do something crazy, you really couldn't because they're checking. But we were definitely shocked by that. Like my first thought was, what are they looking for? Now
we've been to 3 other countries. And I would say this place when it comes to security is like top notch.
Right.
I think even when we went to a Yaya Center, they not only check your vehicle when coming in, but also when you're walking into like the security part, you got to take out all your stuff, and they got they're scanning and stuff and scanning you and stuff like that.
Yeah, you have to go through the metal detector, all of that. Yeah.
So y'all security is up to par.
Right, y'all not playing around. The next thing we're gonna talk about is the cost of entertainment. So pretty much when we were here last time, each time we went to go do something, we spent about $20 to do stuff, which really isn't a lot of money considering like when we were in America, you can't really do anything fun for $20. And if you do, it's gonna be like a quick 5-minute something, and then what else are you gonna do?
And we're not even speaking on per person. We talking about for like a family, $20.
Right.
So
yeah, we did the bowling and all that stuff. I think we spent for both of us about $7 a piece on each activity.
And that was for pretty much that was around the same price for everything inside of that mall that we did.
Yeah.
So that was insane.
And that's unheard of in America. The last thing we're gonna talk about is how modern the city is in general. Just like the roads and stuff. Just like if you were driving, you didn't know where you were, you would think you were anywhere in America, honestly. The roads are like very, very, especially like highways or like there's like a toll road. Like that's some fancy stuff. I don't like toll roads, I don't like paying to drive, but whatever. But it was very, very modern. And even the buildings, the way the architecture and stuff is here, it's very, very much so the way that things are in America. Because in some of the other African countries we've been to, you can see more of like, I would say like an Arab influence and stuff in the architecture, but it's not like that here as much where we've seen in Nairobi.
And also I don't think since we've been here we've seen dirt roads. Like in Tanzania, there's dirt roads everywhere. We went to Rwanda, there was a lot of paved roads, but then when you get to like the neighborhoods and stuff like that, you'll see more dirt roads. Here, even going to like in Nairobi, going to through the neighborhoods and going through back alleys, they were all paved. So I was like, that's shocking.
And nice, it's nice.
And nice at the same time. The only other place that we've seen was like that was South Africa. And we already knew that South Africa was more on the modern side anyway.
Right.
So those are all the things that shocked us about Nairobi, Kenya. We want to say thank you for watching this video all the way through, and we love you, family. And as always, shalom.
Shalom.